Hello. Hi. I am going to do a Facebook Live in my home office that I'm still putting together. I've heard of a lot of people having to put together home offices really quickly right about now. So I know I'm not the only one. I got to grab a hammer and a couple other tools because I have a set of drawers I need to put together. And isn't that just fitting? Because we're going to talk about how recovery from narcissistic abuse is a mess sometimes. And it's a lot of sorting things out and sort of reassembling in a healthier, happier way. So 1 second, let me find my tools. And I don't want to trip over my cord and fall in front of everyone because that would be just way too funny. All right, I got my toolbox here. Ugh. Yeah, it's a really super organized toolbox too. Just kidding. No, it's not. So the reason that I decided to do this topic is because I received a message from someone here. Let me see if I can read it. Okay, and I can't quite see the screen, so if you guys ask a question, hang in there and I'll be sure to look up at the comments from time to time. Okay, so the person wrote and said, can you please talk about how I can feel happy one moment, sad the next, and there seems to be so many conflicting feelings. It makes me feel like a crazy person. Sometimes I feel like I'm doing the right thing, and other times I feel like I'm doing the wrong thing. It just depends on the day. Can you talk about this? Yes, I can. I can talk about it at great length, as a matter of fact. But the real question is, can I talk about it and multitask? That's a whole nother story. Anyone who's tried to play cards with me knows that I easily just get distracted by conversation. So we'll see how this goes. Anyhow, so when you're recovering from narcissistic abuse, it can be so messy. It's so messy for a number of different reasons. One is that you're dealing with multiple realities. You're dealing with the reality that the narcissist is trying to create and control, which usually has to do with a victim narrative. You're trying to figure out what the actual reality is. So for example, am I seeing things clearly? I thought that I was seeing things clearly, but maybe I'm not. So perhaps I don't know what reality is right now. Oh, tickling my nose. Yeah, so then you're trying to also figure out what other people think of your situation. So there's that reality too. And don't forget that narcissists, they just shape reality as they go. Just picture life as being just like a stream, right? So picture the narcissist and life just sort of funnels in to their view. And then before they ingest it, they shape it and twist it into what they want it to be. Right? So it doesn't really matter what actually happened. What really matters is how they can craft it and twist it into something that supports what they're trying to portray, that persona, that victim narrative, controlling the context, so on and so forth. So that is really confusing when you're dealing with someone who gaslights you, who treats you like that you're the crazy one and that, you should probably be on meds and be in therapy because, you're clearly a total whack job. But the thing is you start to feel like you are because of the games that they play, the mind games and the psychological warfare. It does start to break down your ability to process life and determine what's real and what's not. So there's that going on, right? Which is a huge, well, I guess I should use the F word, but, it really screws with your mind in a big way. It scrambles your brain. Yeah, narcissistic abuse has just a way of breaking down those internal mechanisms that keep your thoughts and your feelings and things sorted out. It gets all jumbled up. So that's one of the reasons why things get messy. Also, they will change, on a whim, like on a dime. Like 1 minute they're all happy, they're, saying you're beautiful and can't wait for the weekend to be with you and la la la. And then the next thing you know, they're really super grumpy. So you got Jekyll and Hyde. Then on top of Jekyll and Hyde usually is that would be considered like a behind closed doors sort of thing. Where the person changes right in front of your eyes. But then there's the public persona, right? So a lot of narcissists have, they're extroverted. Not all, but a lot of them are really extroverted because they like attention. They like to be known. And so they will, they'll be someone different out and about than the person that you see at home. So that means your friends and family, the community, and other people only see one version of that person. And I mean, that makes you feel like you're crazy, because who are you going to talk to about this? Nobody's going to believe you. Everyone thinks they're awesome. And you've learned your lesson about bringing it up, because when you have, people look at you like, maybe you need help. Like, your husband's a great guy. You guys have a good life. Have you tried couples counseling? So you're alone in this a lot of times. And then because they change based on who they're around, gosh, I don't know. It just gets messy. It's so messy. But they like that. That's the point, right? They want you to feel confused all the time. They want you to feel like that you don't know up from down. And that's one reason why they do the things that they do, because it keeps you on your toes and it keeps you guessing. You don't know what's coming next. You can't quite get a handle on things, and that puts them at an advantage. So they like to be confusing. They like to change things up. So one example would be like, here's the plan. Let's make a plan. Okay, this is the plan. We agree on the plan. And then the next thing you know, they're not doing the plan. You're like, wait, what's going on? And they're like, oh, what do you mean? We never made a plan. And you're like, yeah, it's right here in this text. So the gaslighting that goes on, or that narcissistic amnesia, where they just don't remember conversations that took place 10 and 20 times. It makes you confused. It makes you not trust yourself, and it makes you more compliant, right? And that's not even to mention like the other things that they do to make you more compliant. Say, for example, like sleep deprivation, so on and so forth. There's lots of other ways that they make you compliant. They limit your ways of gaining strength, a lot of ways that they try to get you to do what they want you to do. So the reason that you feel confused is because they want you to feel confused. When you're confused, you're less likely to call them out on their crap or hold them accountable for anything. So they want to get their way. Also, they are the good guy and you are the bad guy. Don't forget, that's also very important. So keeping you confused, traumatized, using reactive abuse. That's when somebody poke. They really are trying to get a rise out of you, and then finally you lose it. And then they're like, you're crazy. Look, she's crazy. And it's a really hard place to try to exist. But you know what? Some of the strongest people I know did exist there for a really long time, and they did everything under the sun they could possibly think of to make it work. Okay, so I did write down some examples of conflicting feelings that we might have. And I think that one of the main reasons why this is difficult is because when we have these conflicting thoughts and feelings, we think that that's somehow problematic or weird, right? That must mean something. We're going to assign meaning to that. So therefore, maybe I am crazy, or maybe I didn't make the right choice, or maybe he isn't quite so bad, right? So instead of just having the knowledge that, oh, this is just how it feels, right? Raise your hand if you feel this way in recovery from narcissistic abuse. If we were all in the room together, everybody would be raising their hands. It's just how it feels. It doesn't mean anything. Your brain is trying to find footing. It's trying to find a firm and certain foundation. You've been drifting for a while and you're trying to find something to hold on to. So we do like to assign a lot of meaning to our feelings when sometimes they're truly just not that meaningful. Let's see. Oh, now, see, here we go. I got to look at this for a second. I don't want to mess it up. Okay, so we got number 9. Are you number 9? Where's number 9? I find it works best if you don't follow the directions. I had a number 9 here. Where did it go? Oh, this is 8. 10. Where's the mother loving 9? I hate you already. Okay, got the 9. Okay, so a couple of things would be, that because your thoughts and feelings are kind of getting to the point of they're conflicting, then that, of course, leads to self-doubt, right? Remember, they want us to have self-doubt. But let's say that we're not in the relationship anymore. Let's say that, we're healing, we're going to therapy, they're not in our life. Maybe we share kids with them or something like that, but, they don't really have the power over us that they used to. But we're still trying to figure it out. So some of the thoughts that we're going to have is like, there were good times and bad times. And that gets confusing. It's like, well, yeah, it's true that it was horrible and these awful things happened, and I am penniless with no self-esteem. My business is gone, and I have a spoon and a plate that I'm starting with. Yeah, that's true. But also there were some good times, and there were good times. It wasn't all bad, and some of it was kind of meaningful for especially when you share children. There's things that you remember that were good. Maybe the wedding was beautiful. Maybe your families love each other. Maybe you went on a really awesome trip. And, there are things that happened that weren't that bad or that were really fantastic. So I've talked about this over and over and over again, in that it's really important that we acknowledge the good times too, because they're 8. Yay. The good times, if we deny that they happened, that's going to wind up coming back to haunt us later. So we have to honor the good times and not deny them. Don't pretend like they didn't happen, because they did. We live in truth and fact today. We're not lying to ourselves, right? We're not rationalizing. We're trying to live in truth and fact. And the truth is that there were good times too, and that's okay. But that can give us some conflicting feelings, because then when we start to think of the good times, it's like, I don't know, then that's when you start to miss them, But at the same time that you miss them, you're also so relieved that they're not there. Simultaneously, I miss them, but also, whoo, thank God that's over, right? And often these things come in waves. So you're like minding your own business and not really thinking too much of it, and then a song comes on the radio and you're like, damn it. And the next thing you know, your mind is off to the races and you're starting to think about the good time, and then you start to get sad. Or maybe it's not even a good time that you're thinking of. Maybe it's the things that you never got to do. Maybe it's the dreams and goals that you had. Is that right? 8 is supposed to go. Yeah. So I'm trying to sort this out. If I had somebody here with me who had already put this together 10 times, it would be really super helpful. But I don't. I'm just trying to figure it out on my own, right? But that's what our recovery program does for people, is that there's a bunch of people that have done this before. They've already sorted through these things and they can guide us. Nope. This way. Got it. Okay, so other things that we get, love and hate, right? Because sometimes we still love them. And it's okay to admit that. Probably not to your friends and family that have worked really hard to get you away from the person. They don't want to hear that. But to your peer, someone else in recovery from this type of abuse, or your therapist or your coach, that's somebody that you would want to share these feelings with, and then that feels shameful too. People get embarrassed or they feel ashamed that they still miss the person or love the person despite everything that happened. And then, then there's, we're going to get real. We live in facts and truth. Sometimes people are still attracted to the person. And there's a number of different reasons why that would be. Sometimes it's a neurobiological thing because of events that took place. And so someone's brain might have paired with that person in a way that makes them still seem desirable. So sometimes, and it's so hard for people to understand, and we shouldn't expect them to, because it really is so hard to believe, that we still might love this person or miss them or, still be attracted to them. It's very hard for people to understand that. They get pissed off when you bring it up. So it's kind of not nice and not fair for us to try to get them to understand that, thank God they don't have to, because it hasn't happened to them, right? Okay, so there's missing them, you're glad they're gone, all at the same time. And then 2, you've got this new life, and the new life is going pretty well. It feels pretty good. You're rebuilding, you're sorting things out, there's new things that are coming into your life, and that's really super cool. And sometimes it just feels like, yes, I'm here, I did it. Look, I got my apartment and I have these new friends, and I actually feel good about myself. No one's being mean to me. You're so excited and happy and grateful for your new life. But then also, you grieve the life that you didn't wind up having, the one you dreamed about that you thought you were going to have. But then again, you start to grieve the old life that you had with that person. Not everybody does this, not everybody, but a lot of people do. So the new life is great. And then you're like, but why am I still thinking about the old life? I shouldn't be thinking about that, right? Here's a good one. I thought I was past that. Yeah, that's just not really how it works. It's something that will continue to come up over the course of time. It has less of an impact. It's less frequent and less intense. So that does get better. Let's see. Almost. Yeah, getting there. One drawer. All right, let's see what else. Other things that are conflicting. So it's almost like you've been reborn. You got broken down by this person. Your soul has been crushed and demolished. Your self-esteem, your identity, everything you thought you knew about people, relationships, who's on your team, who's not on your team, all that stuff has been shuffled, and you've been broken down, and now you're rebuilding, and it's a rebirth. And a rebirth is an ugly, painful mess. Whatever version of rebirth we're doing, there's destruction that comes first. and then we rebuild. But something that can happen is we get lonely because, like I said, people don't understand, but also because we're trying to build a new life, which means that it may not include certain people because we've decided that we're going to be a lot more picky about who we're spending time with, how much time we're spending with them. There. Okay. I guess this is right. So it can get lonely, and I did do a video on this. Is called something like, why does recovery feel so lonely? Because it does feel lonely, at least for a while. That's why I highly recommend that you find your peers. And when I say peers, what I mean by that is a trusted circle that is closely monitored, where you can be yourself and discuss your process with other people that have walked in your shoes. It's very important that you find your peers so that you don't feel as lonely. But there's also a freedom in the loneliness, I think. Life is simpler, less complicated. We don't have to worry about as many people and, what they think about us. It gets simpler. But then, then we remember we're empaths, right? So we have an emotion and it means something. Like, oh, I feel this, so it must mean something. So if I feel isolated, I feel alone, then that must mean something bad about me, right? No, it's just how it feels because we're clearing things out. We're doing a purge. We're doing a cleaning. We're doing a reshuffling of things. Okay, before I put this new piece on, I'm going to gaze up at our comments here. What do we got? Do they ever realize they were wrong? That's a good one, Jody. You're trying to make me laugh, aren't you? Do they realize that they're wrong? Yeah, they do. They do realize that they're wrong. They will never admit it unless it serves them, unless by admitting it, it's going to manipulate someone into getting off of their back. On our SNAP list of common features of abusive personalities is that they never believe that they're caught. So I don't think that's the same thing as knowing that they were wrong. It's just when they get called to account or that someone's trying to hold them responsible, they just sort of writhe and wriggle around like a worm on the pavement in the sun. They're just, they cannot admit or see that the jig is up. You're busted, dude. And then they'll cry and a bunch of other things and then they'll do DARVO. We did a video on that, deny, attack, reverse, victim, and offender. So you try to hold them accountable or see if they will take responsibility for something. They will not unless it serves them. Yeah, and they don't like to do that. But in terms of knowing if they are wrong, so I wouldn't say it quite like that. I would say it's more just that they know what they want and they know when they're not getting what they want. If it becomes apparent that they were wrong about something, they're going to throw a temper tantrum. They're going to launch hypocritical accusations. They're going to change the subject. They're going to do diversionary tactics to get you to stop looking at them and start looking at someone else. They will magnify. Yay, I think I did this. They will magnify your wrongdoings and they will minimize their wrongdoings. So they just have a way of getting out of it. They get out of it all the time. The courts let them out of it. The courts let them get away with it. Society lets them get away with it. There are flying monkeys. Friends let them get away with it. So, yeah, do they know that they're wrong? Well, if you mean wrong in that they mistreated you and that's why you're not around anymore, I think they might say it more like, I got bored with that person, or they wouldn't act right. Um, they just weren't getting out of it what they wanted to get out of it anymore, which is your adoration, you being a cheerleader, you being there, rallying. And worshiping because they're so amazing, and stroking, got lots of stroking going on. And if you're not doing those things for them, then they're not getting what they want out of you. So sometimes that'll happen right after you've had children. They'll be like, start to have an affair, right? You have kids now, and maybe baby number one, they started dabbling in that, and by baby two, now they're really full on having, the cheating, and then by you have like a save the marriage baby number three, and now they're really pissed because you don't pay any attention to them at all, because all you do is spend time with the kids. She doesn't have anything left for me by the end of the day because all she does is care about the kids. She doesn't give me any attention whatsoever. What about me? I have needs. Poor me. I'm in the position now of having to go outside the marriage for this because she's just obsessed with the children. And, I just get the scraps. So what do you expect me to do? Of course I had to go find a girlfriend. They twist it. All right, let's see what else we got here, because we're almost done with this drawer. I was only going to just do one drawer for now. Baby steps, right? A little bit at a time. We can't do it all at once, just a little bit at a time. So there's the new me versus the old me. That can be very confusing and conflicting. And then here's one. He can change. No, he can't. Yes, he can. I'm pretty sure he can't, but maybe, right? It's negotiating with life, negotiating with that narcissism. Like, maybe if we go to therapy, or if I say it this way, or if, they got in trouble. Maybe they got a DUI. Maybe the law stepped in. Maybe they got fired. And you're like, yes, this will be the moment. Like they'll have that epiphany. They'll see that they need to change. They'll see the error of their ways, and they'll cry for a minute and be like, you're the best thing that ever happened to me. Thank you so much for standing by me. I don't deserve your support, and I'm just so humbled by that, and I promise I'm going to change. And then, 2 weeks and 3 Bud Lights later, back to the races, And so we want them to change, because if they could change, everything could be good, because remember how good those beginning moments were? They were awesome. Why can't we just go back to that? How hard would it be to just be nice? Could you just be nice? So there's this flip-flopping that goes on in our minds of whether they can change or not, no matter how many times you see it online of, no, they can't. Or me saying it like, yeah, highly unlikely. It's like, yeah, but maybe mine is different. Maybe this isn't quite the same as other situations. So, you kind of oscillate between that, this guy's never going to change, too, but maybe he can change. Because we love them, and we want them to, have meaningful relationships. We want to keep the family together. We want them to have that love that we have envisioned for ourselves and for our families this whole time. I mean, because that's the thing that's so interesting is, like, I don't know about you, but like I could just picture it. I knew how it would be. And it would just seem so close, and it was dangled, like a carrot too. So yeah. All right. Where was I? Oh, he can change. No, he can't. Yeah, that's a tough one. And that's when someone is still really engaged in the relationship and still kind of addicted to the person. They're not quite ready to admit that the person is who they are, right? And what that means. Like, do you or do you not believe this person is a narcissist? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. Well, here's what that means. If he is or she is, right? It's kind of a fixed thing. These are traits, not states, they're traits. So do you or don't you believe it? If you don't, then why are we talking? If you do, there's no negotiating with that. It's a done deal. Let's see. Oh, well, this is sort of right in the same vein, which is, I'm ready to leave. I'm ready to start over. No, I'm not. I'm not ready yet. Let's see if anybody. Okay. Yeah, so it'll be like you'll have a bad fight. So that cycle happens, right? And in the fighting part of the cycle, the blow up part of the cycle, you're saying, this is it. I am done. I'm never coming back. And this is awful. I'm never going to let anyone treat me this way ever again. And so this person might come to see me and, you know, and I'm saying the reality of things. And then when they hear the reality of things, they're like, yeah, but are you sure? Because maybe he can change. Well, maybe if he just drinks less, or maybe I should come to therapy. So there's this sort of like negotiating between he can change, he can't change, I'm ready, I'm not ready. And let me just say that if you're not ready, that's fine. That's totally fine. In fact, go right back into that situation. Go for another round. You know, get it out of your system. Let them hurt you again. So you get that high pain threshold. Maybe you haven't met your pain threshold yet. Go back for some more pain if you have to. You know, sometimes it'll get you to the end faster. And there's no shame in that. And there's nothing to be feeling, you know, guilty or bad about. There's a lot of people that take many attempts. In fact, the last time I looked at the research, was it 7? I think it was 7 attempts was the average in trying to get away from an abusive relationship. So for some people, it's not just 7, it's 14 or 20. No, I mean, I don't really know too many people that got it right the first time. So, you know, if you're not ready, just give yourself some grace and patience and you'll get there when you're ready, okay? It just takes time. Oh, okay. And then lastly is, this is a frustrating one, but the kids need their other parent. Okay, you know, I'm always gender specific and I apologize. I do know this goes both ways. I don't need to be told that. I am aware, right? But it's just easier to speak from my experience, and my experience has mostly to do with men being the narcissists and the women being the targets. So, but we have this idea that the kids need their other parent, that other parent has an important role to play, and that just because society says so, or the court says so, or your parents say so, you know, that we're supposed to facilitate and caretake, whitewash, minimize, fabricate a relationship that's actually not even there, right? So it's like saying things to your kids like, your dad loves you, he just doesn't show it, you know, in the ways that but I know that he does, you know. So you're caretaking this relationship so that these kids can have this idea that they have a parent that actually they don't have, that isn't, it's not reality. But also you can't be the one to teach them that and point it out. They have to come to that on their own, right? Like you can't, I mean, you had to come to it on your own, didn't you? Right? So they do too. You can't tell them, and you shouldn't, really. There's age-appropriate honesty that you can use, but it's not wise, and it will come back to bite you later on. You just have to be real careful about how you go about that. So one day you're like, you know, he's terrible with the kids, and I just can't stand living in this chaos anymore, because they always make life so confusing and like kind of a living hell when you're trying to share kids. So, you know, after a while, you just get fed up. You're like, do I have to keep doing this? This is ridiculous. This person is a liar. They can't stick to a plan to save their life. They're constantly trying to hoover me, manipulate me, and insinuate things, you know. So after a while, you might just get kind of fed up with it and think, you know what, maybe the kids don't do well around him. Maybe it's actually better for the kids to not have contact with someone who is an emotional manipulator and uses tactics of psychological warfare to control people like objects. You know, just a thought. Just a thought. We lie to ourselves when the court says, especially, that the children are best to have that parent. And, sometimes it's just not true. If the person, man or woman, was abusive towards you and used those types of tactics on you. Okay, so let's say it's a female narcissist and a male target. And let's say you have a son. Okay, so what manipulative tactics did that woman use on you as a man? Well, what mean things were said to you that were emasculating? Or it was more like that, like emotional incest, which you can go watch that video, where you're turning the child into the boyfriend or into the husband. So let's say that, your ex is a female, you're a guy, and during your marriage, she was using gaslighting, crazy making, victim narrative, guilting type tactics to get her way. Well, do you think she's just going to hang that up when the kids come over? Like she's suddenly not going to use those tactics to get her way? I mean, of course she is, right? So, and then we think about the damage that it did to you. Imagine the damage that it does to a child that's like forming their identity and going through important developmental stages. It's just, sometimes it really is not a good idea for your kids to be around a narcissist. But at the same time, we don't have a lot of choices there because the court doesn't recognize coercive control right now. Where's the other stupid piece that I'm looking for? Okay, we got 8 here. There's 9. There's supposed to be a 10. Didn't I just have it? Son of a biscuit. That's 9. 9. 10? 10. Thank God. Okay. All right, there we go. Yeah, so you go back and forth between, or let's say you were raised in a broken home, right? And that's something that you identify with, is that, the way you grew up was fighting, and, there was 2 households, and, you just really hated that about your childhood, and you want to save your child from having a broken family or a broken home the way you did growing up. So now you're projecting your issues. You're literally projecting your issues onto your kids. It's coming from a good place, though, okay? It's just, that's a you issue. That's something that we personally as individuals have to deal with and heal from and figure out, and not try to work our issues out on our kids. I'm still working my issues out on my kid from time to time. Don't get me wrong. We all do it, right? It just happens because we're humans. But, which is it? Are you trying to, heal your wounds from the past? Or are you trying to keep your kids safe? Which is it? Emotionally safe. I mean, the ones where there's physical abuse going on, I mean, that's so much clearer cut. It's the psychological warfare that's very hard to prove. And I mean, ask any of my clients, if you even try to talk about it in a courtroom, unless you get real lucky, everybody looks at you like, so you feel kind of alone in things. All right, I think we hit it all. Conflicting feelings are so normal. That's how it is. It's how this feels. It's messy. And what we need is somebody to sit with us who knows what they're doing, who's been there before, to tell us what the next step is. Like, where do I go from here? Why am I having these feelings? Am I doing this the right way? Is there a right way? There's a lot of questions, and it really helps to have peer support. So if you need peer support, especially right about now, because we're all staying in our houses, And some of you might still be with the narcissist right now while you're watching this. So we kind of need each other, don't we? I'm thinking that if you could check out our SNAP peer support group, it's just SNAP, Survivors of Narcissistic and Abusive Personalities, on Facebook. You'll find a lot of people there. It's policed. We police that. So there's no, the second something a little iffy, it's gone, right? So we're all over that. It's a safe place. You can join our group. You can also take our classes. Those are on Monday evenings, and you can attend from home and just kind of dial in and listen through your earbud. You know, anonymity is important. Privacy is important. So you know that when you take those classes that it's private. And then, you know, once you get real comfortable with us, we have fun things that we do too as a peer group. We have outings, which recently we haven't been able to do our outing because we're trying to be responsible and respectful of what's happening right now. So instead, we're going to have online outings. This weekend, we're going to have a, what is it called? A watch party? Yeah, we're going to have a watch party. And a bunch of us are going to watch something together and sort of, I don't know, process it perhaps, or just laugh a bunch. I don't know. We'll see what happens. We're trying to stay flexible. So anyhow, I did one drawer. I did pretty good, and almost done with the second one. So I'm feeling a little more confident about getting this done. But I'll let you guys go and enjoy the rest of your evening. Yeah, who had that idea, Nicole? I'm so lucky I have such great people that help me. Have a good night.